Give him a little cake. Hello. Good evening.
Ooh, it's live.
Hey, Tom.
Hey.
What you drinking?
I have water and I have powdered calm.
Oh, I always do my calm in the morning.
Teresa, I've forgotten about it when I don't come into the office.
Mm-hmm.
But then I remembered I have the ability to be calm.
Anybody in the StreamYard yet?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're at. It's evening for us. Still feels like it's midnight as we're at the darkest time of the year right now.
Eternal midnight.
Mark, what you got? You got anything to drink over there? You really should.
I got coffee here and I got water here. The two things I drink.
Good,
I don't
good
think
job.
there's anything else that I actually ever drink between those two, aside from those two.
I don't think I've ever seen you consume anything but that.
That's all I drink is coffee and water.
All right, we got a good day from down under. Good day. Good to see ya. How'd I do?
Like
I don't know. Is it causing to do that, or is it the other thing?
Well, welcome everybody to Closing Ceremonies. Marcel reporting for duty. Sans drink. You need some water. It's important. Drink your water. This note brought to you by Orange Nebula.
End of stream.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I can tell you right now that I feel so sad that we don't get to be together. Like every time we've done closing ceremonies, we've had like a cool backdrop and we've put cake in each other's faces, and I miss you so much. This is when you say I miss you too, Lacey.
Oh,
it'd be nice to be around you as well.
Lacey, we also miss you.
It's Ryan's birthday.
Oh,
It's Ryan's birthday. Happy birthday. Welcome
awesome.
to that's why we made this live stream for your birthday today.
That's right.
Welcome to Ryan's birthday live stream.
That's right.
Oh, Julie, good morning from Vietnam. Good morning.
Zach,
yeah.
the Kickstarter starts tomorrow.
That's right. We're about to launch.
Vindication stretch goal produced early. It's Tug the Magnificent. He's playing with a baseball right now, so he's included. Shipping is going to be a little extra, but you guys, you won't mind.
It's Tugnificent. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh my God, he's going a little crazy. You had to talk about it.
He's
Stop.
destroying things behind you.
Destroy everything.
AJ's here, hydrated and ready to go. That's what I like to hear. Jeff says perhaps we're going to need to cake our own faces. I just think this was a brilliant idea.
That is a brilliant idea. Frost rolls? No frost rolls, though.
I don't know. I enjoyed that.
For anybody who knows what that is.
We bonded a lot. Oh, Teresa's here. Yay!
All right.
Hi.
By the way, we're live.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I just made it out of traffic, everyone. I survived.
Am I crazy? Or you two, Teresa and Tom, you wore the exact same shirt last live stream, and you're both wearing the same shirt again today, matching again.
You not know that Teresa and I coordinate?
No,
Yeah.
we just think you only have one shirt.
It matches my hair. As soon as I dye my hair, I'm going to get a new shirt.
That's right.
Yeah, this is my basement shirt. It's thick and warm.
Yeah, he was when Tom logged on earlier, all of a sudden there's like a sock in the air, and he was like socking himself right when we started. So you missed that.
That is overheard. He was socking himself.
Oh
Crazy.
man!
So many.
Oh my God! I got to get Tug to calm down here pretty soon.
What is he doing? He's like throwing furniture.
Okay, so Mitchell wants to know, is there cake? And I don't know. I mean, like, I prepared pretty well.
Oh, girl.
I don't know if anybody else prepared pretty well, but
No, I've got a box of tissue if it gets desperate.
you gonna eat it? What are you gonna do with a box of tissue?
I could eat it if it's bad, if I get real bad.
I like really sad ate a cupcake at like 3 in the morning. Was that?
Sad cupcake.
Yeah. If you're up at 3 in the morning, it's time for a sad cupcake. That's just the rule.
Yeah, it's really like that time of night is really where I do most of my sweets eating in the dark alone. We've talked about this. That's what I do.
I got home last night about 1 a.m. and I was extremely tired, and my daughters were like, "No, we're watching Dark Knight." And I'm like, "But it's 1 o'clock in the morning," and they're like, "We're watching Dark Knight." So I didn't go to bed till like 4 because Dark Knight is long.
Yeah.
Well, at least you've seen it. You can doze.
Yeah, I might have done that a couple times.
All right, I got our first question here. We can upgrade in the Pledge Manager, right? I've backed the blue tier, and I have most everything from before. Not sure what else I need to buy and upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely. So it being the year that it is, it was really important to us to make sure that this campaign was as accessible as possible. So anyone that is in for $1 is going to be able to upgrade in the Pledge Manager. All the add-ons will be available. All the same discounts and freebies and everything will be available in the Pledge Manager whenever you're ready. As for not being sure what you need, if you check the most recent update, we have prepared a bit of a guide that helps with different scenarios. So if you just want the new things from this campaign, or if you back the last Kickstarter and want to know what is new since then, because we tend to release things on our website as well, not just these campaigns, you can go check out that little buyer's guide in the most recent update as well.
All right, so listen, we've got like 53 minutes to go in the campaign. Do you remember, Mark?
Cake?
Do we have a what?
Do you have enough cake to make it?
I do.
Good.
I have a lot more than you all.
That's for sure.
I know.
I was just talking to Mark the other day. I don't know if either of you two remember this or if you saw this or knew this, but one of the first Kickstarters, when we did the closing ceremonies, Mark and I were doing the live stream, and we thought it ended an hour earlier than it actually did. So we were sitting there like a few minutes before, like, oh, it's about to close up. And then people start commenting, oh, they're so cute. They think it's done in 5 minutes. It's done in an hour and 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we sat another hour on the live stream.
That happened in real life. Yeah.
I thought that you guys just planned that to be endearing.
Yes,
No.
that's what happened.
No. Well, we are excited to be here with all of you today. So as you're coming in and just saying hi and watching me eat cake and watching my dog and Teresa's cat, if you have questions, that's our goal here today, is to be able to answer as many questions as possible that you might still have, and also to answer any trivia questions that you have. Maybe we could come up with a trivia winner, like who's the smartest nebuliter? Who's the smartest nebularian? No, I'm sorry.
Nebulite works.
Are you making a case for yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. There we go. Thank God Bill's got a question for me.
Oh, good. Save us, Bill.
What about the World Box? Is the World Box available in the Pledge Manager?
Yep. So the World Box will be available in the Pledge Manager. Also, the World Box Deconstructed. So if you only want the playmat, that will be available in the Pledge Manager. If you only want the Odyssey module and the promo pack, that will be available separately. Basically, from those options, it's going to be in there.
Perfect. I want to try to pronounce it. Hendrik. Thanks you for the card list. Is that something?
Don't thank me. Thank Viola for that. That was you reminded me of that today, and I dropped a message in Slack, in our internal Orange Nebula Slack channel, and said, "Do we have such a thing?" And Viola was like, "We do." I said, "Oh, thank goodness."
So it was all Viola.
I get to be the hero, but that's really not the truth of it.
I wish sometime we got to get Viola on here.
I know, she's very reticent to.
I know. I wonder why.
Let the world see. I think she knows how much better she is than all of us, and she doesn't want the world to know.
I thought it was witness protection and the U.S. Marshals that keep changing her appearance and her address.
I buy that. That explains a lot of things, actually.
It does, doesn't it? Greetings from Chile here. I love to see that. Okay, Daniel asked about, with all of the modules that we have that we add in, what are our favorite combinations of modules when playing? Mark, you got a favorite couple modules that you like to play with?
There's so many now. The combinations are starting to become exponential. I personally really like the Guilds and Monuments module that comes in the base game. It gives you a triangular coin that you can use as a fourth action on every turn that you have. That's been a very popular one. But in terms of combining all of the tiles and stuff, when we start to get into, villages and hamlets and like all of the things that you can do, like, no, like you're going to have to just go crazy. There's just way too many combinations possible, especially when certain cards come out and your strategies kind of formulate themselves as you figure out where you're at and where you're, where other people are and stuff like that. So, I don't know. There's a lot of content. It would be hard to narrow it down. Tom, what do you think? Yeah,
well, I mean, I totally agree with that. Right now, my favorites are all the new ones, just because I haven't played them hundreds of times. But, for me, the modules really lend themselves. It's not that I have favorites; it's that they're kind of situational to the group that I'm playing with. So like I really like the Jewel Crafter and all the various other things that brings into play, because it adds a number of layers and some new nuance to doing everything else in the game. But if I'm playing with newer players, I wouldn't include that just because it's a little more complex. And that's kind of how I feel about all of them. Like, they're good for a certain situation, and they're not, none of them are one size fits all, which I love because I get to cater the game to who I'm playing with.
Yeah, the modules are all really light and approachable and really easy to remember how to do. So even like the Leaders and Alliances expansion, when you add, the boards for the guild leaders, it doesn't add a whole lot of complexity to the game. It just kind of gives you more options, but they're fairly significant choices, but they're really easy to remember, and they don't have a lot of mental maintenance associated with them. And that's kind of what this is designed to do. There will be a little bit more mental maintenance I think in Chronicles, just because it's very story driven, and there's an immersion part of it that Chronicles is going to add. But for the most part, the modules, as they relate to map region tiles and that type of content, it just exponentially opens up the game for different types of combos and strategies, and where do I want to be, and it kind of just opens it up for exploration a little bit more.
Is this true? Marcel says, kind of weird to see Consume and Mark's dimples in the same. Do you have dimples, Mark?
I don't. Yeah.
I mean, yes, he does.
Does he? I don't feel like I know that they're dimples.
I don't know. I can't.
Look at that smile, though. It's kind of cute.
Yeah, I mean, he can put his whole finger in there.
Well, listen,
not when he looks at me, but
listen, is the mega board going to be in the Pledge Manager? Mega board.
Oh, a bunch of kind of things.
A bunch of kind of things, yeah.
No, there's no mega board in the Pledge
Manager. No mega board, no mega box. Mega box will happen in the future, but not during this campaign. We'll make a big stinking deal about it when it happens.
Yeah, it deserves to be engineered properly. The solution that we're working on for that is going to take some time, and it needs to be carefully planned, but it'll be worth it.
Jeff can't wait for the playmat.
And rightly so, Jeff, because it's gorgeous.
Mitchell, I can't tell what his joke is right here. He's like, what if we only want stickers out of the world box?
Then buy the world box and give the rest of it to your kids.
I like it, Teresa. That's what I like to hear.
She said
down there. Okay.
I know. It's like Hollywood Squares.
Of who's where.
Okay, we're getting some sweet love here on lots of these, but discovered Vindication last campaign, been in mine and my wife's top 10 games ever since. Thanks for the awesome campaign. Looking forward to see what the story brings. I love it. Woohoo! Okay, question on sleeves. What are the sleeves like for all the different shapes of cards and such?
Probably the same dimension as the actual cards.
We have the slightly larger, yeah, so they can fit inside. I have actual product at the office, and I did not bring it back to my home today, so I could have shown that tonight. You're gonna have to kill me. We'll post something soon. The sleeves are phenomenal. I have to tell you.
How many microns thick?
100 microns. Yeah, top of the line.
How many
really,
microns?
really nice. They're 100 microns, 100 microns, 100.00. And
that's probably not true.
Yeah, that might not be true at all. You'll have to
don't quote him on 0.00. Send
us pictures. Yeah, they're roughly 69 by 69 millimeters, and they fit just right. So we went back and forth with the manufacturer until the cards both fit snugly in the sleeves, but the sleeves still lay flat, so they don't bow or bend, and they're thick. I mean, the packages of 100 sleeves is like thick and uncomfortably for us because we have to ship all of them. But and then the unsettled ones, the package is like this big because the cards are enormous, and then it's got 2 sizes in the one pack for each planet box, and that's a whole nother discussion. But the Vindication ones, they all look really good.
These are top tier sleeves too. These aren't some penny Kickstarter crappy yellow sleeves. Like, these are the real deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll put our sleeves up against any other sleeves you can find.
Amen.
I just feel like sleeves versus sleeves could be like a really good t-shirt, like our Ronak versus Tuk Tuk shirt.
This is a weird bracket game we've now set up.
Jeff says he was excited for Chronicles, but wow, Villages and Hamlets opens up so much. How excited are you two about what you've done with Villages and Hamlets?
I'm extremely excited about Villages and Hamlets, but also Chronicles. They're very different, and they allow us to do different things, which I really like. And I think I touched on this in an update, but the more proper expansions like Leaders and Chronicles allow us to really go deep on one thing. Whereas Villages and Hamlets is a million little ideas that you can mix and match and move around. And because of the nature of that, you can be a little more experimental with them. And that's a different fun design space. So we get to be a little more rebellious with them. And if there's a module that we think, some people might not enjoy this as much, or some people might not enjoy this as much. Like, I don't want to harp on that too much, but you know what I mean? Like, you can be a little more cavalier with fun ideas in the smaller modules because there's 40 of them. And if you don't like one, then you just not use that one as much, but someone that's going to be their favorite one. And so the smaller modules give us a little more room to be nimble and playful, which I really like.
Yeah, let me take this a little bit further. So one of the things that I think we're trying to do here that is different from what a lot of folks are doing is we are building a customizable game. So it's not just open the box, read the rule book, and play it. Now we've got so much additional content that you can customize and play with the pieces and components, like Tom was saying, that you want to play with, take out the ones that you don't want to play with, and customize that either for the way that you like to play or customize it differently each time you play. So you're going to go through all the content. Maybe you're just going to try everything once, and it takes 12 to 15 plays to get through, trying everything. And then you can kind of start. I mean, it's supposed to be endless. And so most board games don't work like that. And so we're kind of venturing into some new territory with the community, trying to figure out, what do people like? What do they want to be inspired by? What aspects of exploration really communicate to you? What aspects of, character development, or, like, this is all a big sandbox. And so that's why there isn't really an answer to a lot of these questions about what our favorites are, because it's different every time. There is probably at this point too much content to play all at once. Okay. Like, I'll just tell you right now, unless you want to play like an 8-hour game and do that, go for it. Send us a video of that. That would be awesome. And that's an exaggeration. It wouldn't take that long, but I think the intention is, to be able to modify it based on the play group that you're with, and the length of the game that you want to play and the different types of experiences that you want to have, you could schedule out 6 different plays with different groups and have a completely different, experience each time you play as the world of Vindication opens up. And so it's not just cards and tiles, it's how those things work together and how this companion works on this map region and how that connects to this other thing. And then, how I'm leveraging my story or my journey with new and different types of things. And then what's everybody else doing? And how can I leverage, here's what Lacey did on her last turn. And here's what Teresa did. I'm wondering if I can, how can that benefit me? Or how could that get in the way of what I'm doing? So.
Good. Okay, I've got one logistical question, and then I've got a couple other longer-winded answers that I'm looking for. So, logistical question. Will the World Box still be shipping when it arrives? Seen lots of info about combining it with your Kickstarter pledge, but for those that pre-ordered it a few months ago, will they be getting it sooner?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, there's 2 waves. Mm-hmm. So, the ones that pre-ordered, was it Gen Con that we debuted that, or was it after that? I can't remember.
Gen Con and Wintertide.
And Wintertide, yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was the first wave, and those are already on the water and landing. The wave 2 is what's in this campaign, and that's going to ship all together with it to find as many efficiencies as we can to keep shipping costs down.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, there is a question right here about the best videos for learning the game. I will grab that here, but for your guys' opinion, what are some of the best videos for learning the game?
What about John? No, I was going to say something, and I'm not sure. I'm going to.
No, So John Gets Game has a really long, meticulous, like 2.5 hour, like deep dive into every mechanical thing that you can do in the base game, which some people have absolutely loved and have actually made a choice to back based on that. My particular style is I like to synopsis, right? Don't give me every detail, just give me the snapshot. And there are a couple in there, and maybe we should just find a way to post those on the website here in the next week.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be the best solution because there's probably about 20 out there now, and there are a couple just have been put together by the community that are pretty concise, 11 minutes. It's like, here's how to kind of go through and play. And they're not going to give you all the granular details. They're just going to give you the overview so you can figure the rest out, which is kind of my preference. But if you do like the step-by-step full, John Gets Games has a really long one that I think is linked in. It's actually in the campaign that you could look at. And again, it doesn't get into the heartbeat and the story and the narrative intention behind the game. It gets a little bit more into how does it play, if that's what the question was.
Okay, I like it. Good job.
Thank you.
I'll find the question here, but a quick fun one before I go to some more details. Who's your favorite coworker? Teresa, who's your favorite?
She was nominating herself, I think.
No. Honestly, no. I'm not my favorite. I am my most hated. Truth. I would say it's a tie between Tom and Derek. We have. When's the last time you sent me a meme?
All right. You got a
Case in point.
She's not being entertained. You're not on the list.
Mark, who's your favorite?
Oh man, I mean, HR's watching. I'll go with Viola. I always go with Viola. I think Teresa's my favorite right now. I think, didn't we agree?
I was going to say, is HR watching when you announce your new favorite every couple of
team decides what my favorite is. That's how it works. Like there's a team vote. I go with it. Teresa wears the crown right now. Next week it'll be, Daffron or Derek.
Tom, who's your favorite?
I'll go with Derek and Teresa just because our private Slack channel is pretty
happening.
Pretty excellent.
Yeah. Private Slack channel?
It's the place to be.
Dude, it's incredible.
Viola's going to be my favorite. She gives me a hug and is so happy to see me every time I see her.
Well, Viola's definitely the best person in the office. That's for sure.
True.
All right, let's talk about scumbags for a minute. So, with the two different scumbags, if you have leaders and alliances, is there a way to use both in a game?
There are some ways with villages and hamlets that might make sense. So there, I don't know how much people have dug into these, but you're going to have the island, and you're going to have various villages and hamlets that have their own little sideboards that are like mini maps. And one of the variant ways to use those modules is to have a secondary bag of sort of adjacent tiles, tiles that aren't going to be on the main map that you are planning on. Like, here's the 6 tiles that 3 of which are going to show up on the island. And so when you get to the island, you start discovering what's on the island this time. So there are ways to start using, with these new components, there are ways to start using multiple bags at once, to whatever extent that sounds fun to you. You can also just preset the island. There's going to be different rule sets for ways to approach using those.
I expect there's going to be about half of the people who want to just do presets because they want certain experiences and they want to know where those are. They want to spread out the ends, or whatever tiles. And some of them are just like, when I go to the village, I don't want to know what's going to be there. The exploration part of it. So I think you could do both. I think do both in the same game.
With the island and the villages, the game is now really lending itself to community-created scenarios. I think William or someone in my stream here just mentioned a few minutes ago.
What'd they mention?
Losing Tom.
He's gone. I wonder if he's talking about this.
He's frozen.
Well, he's cute, though, at least. This is... Are you back, Tom?
I'm here. Are you there?
Yes, go ahead.
Please.
Everything I said was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of the incredible things that you say, Patrick wants to know, be honest, how long does it take you to write up all of the update emails?
I mean,
look at the pain in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's not pain, but it is. I mean, they're all different because there's so much other stuff, creating the polls, pulling together all the different community stuff to make the votes and to curate the art and to put together like the new piece of the story based on everyone's story suggestions. It takes a lot longer than I think people would expect. Like during a campaign, like the last 3 weeks, I have been at my computer 15 to 20 hours a day, every day. It is a lot of work. I will admit.
Yeah, I would say that our investment, our view of community and why we do business the way that we do, and the way that we choose to live our creative life, to inspire other people to think bigger and unlock their own creativity comes with a cost that I think works against a lot of good business sense in terms of making money. However, how we live is part of our compensation. And so if that makes any sense, just to go deep for a second, I think we invest a lot into the community and giving thoughtful answers to people when they have a question. We get thousands of messages, and so we don't, it takes us a while to get through all of them with a small team, but there is a cost to doing business this way, or to living our creative life this way, and it's the only way for us. We're going to continue to show our heart and our intentionality, and we're going to continue to make mistakes and screw up and own it and move forward. And even in this campaign, there are things I wish we could have done better, that I could have done better. And we're taking the opportunity next week. Teresa had a great suggestion for us to kind of go through and let's make a long list of things that we've learned and things that we can do better. And that's just kind of part of our process. And so the investment that we make is big. But that's why we do this, and it's totally worth it. While I'm still talking, Lacey, can I cherry pick a question here? real quick?
Sure.
So Wendy G just asked a question. She said they love the base game. It feels pure. Are we worried about overwhelming players with choice? Where do we start with all the choice offered? Where to start is probably a good question, and I'm not really sure how to answer that. You kind of have to go with your intuition on that. I'm not necessarily worried about overwhelming players with choice because it is customizable, and you can just drop in one module at a time, and you can drop in two things at a time, and you can, there's a lot of content you don't really know, but just start somewhere. Start with the way the illustration looks to you. Start with the. Go ahead, Teresa.
I was going to say, like, it really depends on your audience, and I think Tom hit on this. So I'm going to circle back to what Tom said. I think if you're playing with a bunch of people that have the hearts and the feels, maybe are animal people, maybe the pet module is good. If you're playing with a bunch of guilt-ridden scumbags, maybe adding treachery is going to be where it's at,
Mm-hmm.
So really tailor it to who you're playing with.
Yeah, just start with small steps. Just start by adding a few things and go through what comes in the main box, and add in kind of the little mini modules that are in there. And if you find that you connect with some more than others, I think that's awesome. This is an expansive world, and it's becoming more so. So like when you add Chronicles, it's going to feel different. Like there's a lot of depth to Chronicles. Villages and Hamlets is going to add the ability to play with a lot more map regions in a game. So there's a lot to explore and discover. It just kind of depends on how you approach your gaming. If you take your time and you want to make a night of it, and you want to play a couple times in a night and not rush the game and have it be part of 6 games you're going to play that night. If you're just going to be like, okay, we're going to play 2 games of Vindication and 2 games of this other thing, take your time and just test them out, and then ask other people in the community what they think too, because I think everybody's got a completely different perspective there. That's a great question. Where to start? I don't even know where I would start. Honestly, I'd have to lay everything out and be like, okay, well, I'm going to go with these green ones and this blue one. See what happens.
All right. For those of you that it's your first campaign looking at Vindication and you already love Claude, I feel like everybody needs to know just a tiny bit of the Claude backstory. So, Mark and I one time were at a walk. We were walking at a golf course, and all of a sudden, this squirrel. We saw this squirrel running up a tree, and this squirrel running up a tree had an entire Jimmy John's sandwich in its hand, running up this tree. And it was so funny. I fell to the ground laughing. And within 10 days or so, I think you had an illustration done with Claude with the backpack carrying the sandwich. So just so you know, that's the backstory on Claude. Okay.
That's incredible.
Samantha cares.
That's true.
That was
popular.
Yeah. We all care about Claude. Definitely.
We all care about Claude. Okay. Michael wants to know what were some of the inspirational things for Vindication. So, Mark, as you started working on it, and Tom, as you've continued working on some of the expansions, what other IPs have been a big part of your inspiration process for this game?
So I'll start by saying I'll go back a little bit to when I first started to do this. I didn't, and half the time now still don't know what I'm doing, right? And Tom and I had a conversation not too long ago. It's like, when was the last time we did something we knew how to do? I approached Vindication as something I was going to make for me and my buddies, and because I didn't think I could make a game. I didn't know if I could, but I just wanted to do something out of passion that would allow me to apply my graphic design principles in this world building and telling stories. And I was just going to make something. It was just a personal project. And I approached it with the mindset that I didn't want it to feel like a known IP. I didn't want it to feel like Lord of the Rings. I didn't want it to feel like high fantasy with elves and dwarves, and some of those things kind of still made it in, but overall, I didn't want it to be filled with dragons and kind of your classic familiar. I wanted to start with kind of this heroic attribute, sacred concept, and kind of build the story of, your next chapter doesn't have to be tied down by your past, right? Like your future is unwritten was kind of this thing. And I wrote it partially for my kids. So in terms of IP, I was very careful about, or IP, intellectual property, like other, like Star Wars and other big known brands. That's what I mean by IP. I was really careful and tried really hard not to go too deep into that. At the same time, I knew I was going to make a high fantasy game, and so I had to introduce some of those elements just so that it was familiar enough that people would get it, and it wasn't so weird that people were like, "What is this?" Right? Because you to be really creative, I mean, you have to kind of come from left field. So it is a little bit of a hybrid. I have been inspired throughout my life by things like I said, like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and those are pretty big known IPs. There are a lot of other ones. Books that I've read and stuff like that, but I tried really hard to focus on what could be new and unique, but still have a familiar taste. When people could be like, okay, I can get my arms around what that type of a creature would be, but have it be in a different setting. I don't know if any of this makes any sense. I'm kind of babbling now, but
you're good.
Tom,
I'm resonating.
Yeah, so we this comes up a lot on our podcast too. And generally speaking, he's off.
He's free.
We try to stay kind of detached from other inspirations when we're working on our projects, just so that what we're bringing is uniquely us. So when we start exploring a new game, like we're working on some other games right now, and we never ever come at it with, what if we made, such and such in space, or what if we did a game like this but in our own way, or what we tend to approach things with what we call the sacred concept. And this is just kind of a rule of thumb. It's not the only thing we do, but with Vindication, Mark was exploring heroism, and that is something that we have continued to have as the touchstone for designs for that game. On Unsettled, it was more about a group cohesion dynamic. Awe and wonder and bizarre were words that we kept coming back to. And we try very hard to not let the other things that we like be the inspiration for what we're doing, because those are an expression of someone else. And I love them because they're an expression of something that I connect with. But we want to express something uniquely new and uniquely us. And so we try to have what we're drawing inspiration from be a feeling or a concept as opposed to an existing property. Now, that said, if we just want to talk about IPs or other franchises and things, I'm sure that a lifetime of reading and playing games influences everything I do. Like, I love Neil Gaiman and Brandon Sanderson. I'm sure when I work on Vindication, there's some Dragon Age or Baldur's Gate or something in there. Like,
that's what Marcel said.
There's no avoiding our and I'm sure those things are unconsciously in there, but we never consciously say, let's make our own version of this. We tend to come at it from a conceptual level as opposed to a direct franchise influence. Now I'm rambling. Next question.
Thank you. So Julie said hi a little bit earlier, but a little bummed that they just joined a few days ago, caught it before it ended. It's their first ever all-in campaign and not regretting it. Base game's been on the top of the list for a couple years, so it seemed like a good time to invest. So welcome. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're going to get this soon.
Thank you.
Jordan wants to know, for each of us, what was our favorite caffeinated beverage during this campaign?
Yes.
I have to go with that. Yeah. Yes.
Teresa, did you have a favorite? Is there something you're on right now?
I mean, what's closest, right? Like, I mean, what am I on right now? Probably just drip coffee because it was from home. But I mean, if I'm out, it's probably an alternative milk latte, just because milk isn't conducive to working near other people. I do it for you guys.
Tom, what have you been? What's your caffeinated beverage of choice right now?
Coffee and tea. I mean, there's a couple coffee shops local to us that are, we've been making a special effort to go buy beans from them to kind of keep them going. Every time my wife goes in there to get beans, they thank you. Everyone is so whatever. We kind of are moving our small business love around.
Yeah. We're kind of coffee snobs here in the Northwest of the United States anyway. And I would say because of our coffee culture here. But yeah, everything
Don't even say anything.
What?
Don't even say anything for a second. Does every single one of us know Mark's coffee order every time?
I know the barista I need to go to if I'm ordering my coffee.
12-ounce latte.
Yeah, and that guy can't make it. It needs to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Is it?
Just tell them how cool they are.
Well, I mean, that's how we word it. That's how we frame it, right? But
I know. I need to move to the cappuccino and cut the dairy. I'm aware.
Okay, Brandon, you're cutting it a little close with this question. We got 19 minutes to go. Is there a tier to get
Brandon?
Is there a tier to get everything but the base game, or do you have to add everything individually?
There is not a tier for everything but. That said, I mean, yeah, you basically have two options. Option one would be custom building a tier, spinning out of probably the blue tier. Or option two would be to get the everything green or all-in bundles and then just sell your copy of the base game. The game does fairly well on the secondary market, just because it's not something that's flooded the market right now. Like, their copies are in demand, so you could probably earn your original copy.
And if you're getting the green tier, you're also getting that $40 shipping credit. I feel like I'm part of QVC now and saying order within the next 18 minutes. And, but there is something to be said about that. Just because, Brandon, I might end up fielding your customer service email in a little bit when you realize there is that shipping credit. So I figure I might say it now.
Yeah, and once you get into the pledge manager, it's just going to be like an online store. So you can kind of add and customize however you want to. If you're new to Vindication in the campaign, don't feel any obligation. Just try the base game. I think that's awesome. Oh, who wants to see my greatest creation?
It's a child. It's a child. You turn the camera and there's a kid.
Here comes my greatest creation. Just come behind me right here and look on screen.
I hope it's one of them.
These are
the other ones.
the other one. These are my daughters. These are my daughters, and inspiration for the game. And they were much shorter. Now they're taller than me.
Wait. Does one of them
This is Ayla, my youngest, and this is Alina, my oldest. And they have been a big inspiration for this. And we all thank you very much just for your support too, because this is how they eat. This is and they're teenagers, man, and that's all there is. That's all there is downstairs is food. That's it. We had to move the furniture out, just make room for groceries.
Look at them. They're like, I don't know, Dad.
They're like, can we go now? Yeah, you guys are free. Thank you.
Mark, I have a question for you. Are your daughters representing both sides of the Star Wars conflict right now in their T-shirt choices?
I believe, yeah. Actually, there's a question, guys. Let me see. What is Ayla's shirt? Yeah, so we got Phasma, Captain Phasma on one. No, this is just one Star Wars shirt today.
Okay, because I thought the other said Rebel, and I was like, are they really representing both sides of conflict?
It's just not a Star Wars shirt, but yes, it could be. But Ayla actually prefers the dark side. Actually, they both prefer the dark side, and they want the dark side to win. Am I wrong?
Teenagers.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
Dark side.
They're still angry about the last movie. Am I right? Yeah, they're like.
Yeah. Marcel wants to know, Tom, what's with the Cthulhu fingers?
Is that about my real fingers? Now I can be real self-conscious about my fingers.
The green tier is everything, right? We need to. Everybody's trying to make sure here. Without the sleeves, the green tier is everything.
It doesn't have Hamlet,
except the sleeves and the villages and hamlets add-on.
Yeah, and it's this is one of those things that I think we can learn from. So here's what happened is. It was everything until we released Villages and Hamlets, which was a mid-campaign reveal. right? So you have an all-in tier, and then you have a reveal, and then now this first thing isn't all-in anymore, and it becomes a little bit confusing. And I think in the future we might handle that a little bit differently. So the answer is yes. Everything except the answer is no. It doesn't include Villages and Hamlets module, and then the sleeves are for people who want to add on sleeves. Did I bungle that?
No, it's not. Your line matches mine. That's all I need to happen.
All right. Yes, ma'am.
Listen, are we going to do a Vindication? Are they saying app or APP? Does APP mean something I don't know it means?
No, yeah, you're super savvy still. You're hip.
Okay. So when are we going to have Vindication as an app on our phone that we can play? Huh?
It's a question with a big answer. I'll try to make it very concise. We are working on an Orange Nebula app.
Which I've been trying to get us to do for years. I'm just
the reason it doesn't exist now is because we have to eat and keep the lights on, and there are 6 people in the company. And although you look at big campaigns like this and maybe see big numbers, what that translates into for us is not big numbers. So we're trying to build towards an app that will be very useful for the products that we make, the games. Like there's going to be a Vindication guide, there's going to be an Unsettled guide, and other things. We're working on a concept called the Wormhole. Tom, do you want to touch on that, or you want to let it slide?
No, let's start talking about it. So the Wormhole is basically going to be like the Orange Nebula community membership, where you can be a member of the Wormhole and gain points for contributing things in the community and on these campaigns, and you can cash in those points for freebies and fun stuff. And it's just going to be one of the things that we're a little bit frustrated with right now is we are so community centered, but our community is dependent on other platforms to a degree that bothers us. We don't like being dependent on Kickstarter and Facebook, especially in an age when more and more people have an aversion to social media, and rightly so. And so we're trying to find a way to bring the Orange Nebula community into kind of its own space and do some really fun, new, exciting things there where we can continue to collaborate and do creative, fun stuff together and get free things and have the community vibe that we have during these campaigns, not just once a year. We want that to be kind of a more ongoing, not necessarily as intense and constant, but have there be a thing where we spend time together, whether or not there's some new game to spend money on. And it's called the Wormhole. It's going to be in large part Teresa's baby. And we're hoping to spend a good chunk of next year working on it. We're really excited about it. If you guys have any ideas of what would be appealing about that kind of thing, like what you would like to engage in and what kind of things would be fun, we would love to hear about that.
And it could be anything. Like one of the things I'm entertaining is the idea of having like soundtracks that you can play in the background while you're playing Vindication, or maybe there's a creepy space one that you can have while you're playing Unsettled, or maybe there's, FAQ about rules and things that you can just get right into. It's like, how do I do this? Or videos about, how does this work again? And then you just kind of just go right down and you're like, oh, this is how this works. Those are tangible things, and there may be other things that are less tangible. It's like idea centers for people to brainstorm together and have conversations and stuff like that. It's going to take some time to roll all those things out, but it's definitely something that we're going to do it. We just have to prepare for it.
Well, go ahead, Teresa.
I was going to say, every time we get the community really going and engaging, you guys create incredible stories and narratives. And here I am trying to drum up 2 measly blog posts a month and find time to organize my thoughts. And I think there's such an incredible amount of talent in here. It's I just want to try to give you guys the ability to share your thoughts and to piggyback. And I love this idea that you guys inspire me and that I have the ability to grow my inspiration off what you guys do. And you guys are probably saying I know you're saying it about what Mark and Tom do. So I'll go with that. So it's just, kind of getting together to work together so we build this awesome synergy.
Yeah, one of the things.
Go ahead.
If we're gonna like fully blow the curtain up here, one of the big approaches that we have to the idea of community, at least from a business perspective, is that if this community ever becomes about just consuming the things that we make, like that community stinks. Where a community really thrives is when you find there are a bunch of like-minded people that have something in common, and you create a space for them to come together and communicate with each other and create things together and be together. And it can never be about us who created the space. It's about everyone who came together because of the space. And we have not yet been able to fully explore the vision of that. And we want to make that happen. I'm particularly unsettled lends itself a lot, and this is Vindication thing, so we don't need to get too into this, but unsettled lends itself a lot to community generated planets and content. And we really would like to figure out a way to make that a big part of that game, where you can go and you can enter a bunch of information in the wormhole and the cards will be generated there and you can download them and play them, and you don't have to be an Adobe wizard to make, print and play versions of your own cards. And that's the kind of thing that we want to start exploring more.
That was me being an Adobe wizard right there, in case you're wondering.
I would love it if everyone's top 5 unsettled planets were not designed by us.
Ooh.
And they were downloaded off the website. Like that, to me, would be the culmination of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, the idea there is not to crowdsource creative content. The idea there is to let the community be involved and to participate in, and for us to give the community what they want, but also give them something new and fresh. So there's a nuance there that I just think is really important. We're not trying to crowdsource ideas. We are pretty good at making ideas, but this is an open community. We listen, we hear, we want people to be a part of what we're doing and have a voice and have that voice mean something. And even if that's formulating friendships with other people in the community that have nothing to do with our products, that's awesome. That's the focus of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I love how nobody knows what to do if I just step away for like 10 seconds. It's just like silence until I return.
Do we even
Just
have
your empty box?
I don't know if you do or not. Let's help Salvian out here. So he says, within the last hour, I switched my pledge 6 times. I'm afraid the game isn't going to be available on the German market in the next years, as I would want to start buying expansions. So anything we can do to quell those anxieties?
So one of the most common questions we get is, will this game be available in other languages? And aside from the rule book, the short-term answer is no. And there are a number of reasons for that, but to make it really simple, I would say that we're just too small and not big enough to really have that not cost us. There are ways to produce the game in other languages. There are all kinds of companies out there who will translate and have ways that they localize. And Tom has spent inordinate amounts of time researching those and talking to people who do it. We have the capability of doing some of those things, but the economies of scale are not in our favor right now in terms of what that would cost us. I mean, we'd have to basically stop a lot of opportunity to make new content and new games and new products and things like that, and go back and localize for a smaller segment of the market. Tom, what am I missing there?
Yeah, localization is tricky because you start involving a lot of different companies and everyone takes a piece of the pie. And that's kind of the old traditional board game distribution localization process. Where that doesn't work super great with us is that our margins on our games are very small because we make them as affordable as we can and we load them with luxury pieces. So the amount of money that we're taking home for each copy of Vindication is considerably less than most other companies would take home for that same game because they would charge more. What that ends up meaning is something like localization, when we go to involve other companies, those pieces of the pie are so small that at a certain point everyone says, why would we even do this? Or in the case of a lot of the European markets, the conversation we have is we tell them everyone comes to us and they're really excited to localize Vindication because it's doing well. And then we get into the numbers a little bit, and what they see is Vindication costs so much to make that for them to end up making any money off it, and for us to make break even money off it, they would need to charge just a number that would not sell. And so it becomes unviable once they start crunching the numbers, because they don't believe that people are going to go out and buy Vindication, the base game, for $150. And I think they're right, and I wouldn't want to charge that. So it's there will be, I will figure out a way to do it, but it's not going to be in the very immediate future.
Yeah, and it may be something that pops up with one of our future projects, where we come out of the gate that way, as opposed to kind of trying to retrofit an existing, game for that purpose. We're very cognizant of it. I want to localize. That is, our heart is to do that, is to make it as accessible to as many people as we can, and not just in the standard languages. I would love to do that. So it's something we're really kind of spending a lot of time trying to make work, but there's a cost to everything, and sometimes it's just human labor, and all those things are very real. And COVID didn't help this year. We're just trying to do what we can to keep the lights on, like a lot of folks are. So it is important to us, and we're working on it. It's just going to have to hang with us. You have to leave for 3 minutes? We can't hear you, Lacey.
I unmuted. Okay. I was muted because Tug was playing with the baseball pretty loudly. Okay. We got 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
Oh.
No, we're closing here. Not awesome. For us here. We'll stay on a little bit longer. I know Teresa's got to jump at some point.
Yeah.
I'm going to bed in 4 minutes. I'll tell you that right now.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
So does that last question also, somebody else was talking about it being in Spanish, if we were ever going to do a Spanish version. That's the same answer to that question too as well then.
It is.
Yeah, localization is the term, making it local to each region in the language. If we were going to do it in Brazil, we would do it in Portuguese, those types of things.
Okay, great. Any hints on what is coming in 2021?
Oh man. Well, we're gonna do some type of an amazing. It's gonna be more than a storage solution. Everybody wants the big box, the hold everything box, but it's gonna be more than that. We're engineering something cool for this. That's an easy answer. Aside from that, we are working on some new projects. I don't know what we want to share about them. There's some stuff that we're doing for Unsettled. Unsettled is still yet to land for everybody. But Tom and I have probably 3 or 4 other things in the pipe. One of them is quite far along. It is another game. It is.
Is it another? This is from earlier too. Is it another customizable modular design, similar to what you've got going with Vindication Unsettled?
It's very different than Vindication or Unsettled. It's a completely different type of a game. I'm just going to say I want our games to be hard to describe because they're so different. You can't compare them to any other game. And I think that's true so far for the most part. The game that I'm referring to that we have been working on falls in that category. It is not heavy. It is not quite as big as Vindication or Unsettled. It's probably going to come in a smaller box, and it's probably going to be a fairly quick playtime. But it's still going to be strategic, and it's still going to have some depth. and I think people are going to be blown away. Looks like we just finished, guys. Awesome.
Did you get an email?
No, I was just watching it on my other screen here. Sorry.
Woo!
Very grateful. Just a note on that, as the campaign closed, you guys, if you don't know, we're a small team of 6 people, and this is how we keep the lights on. This is how we get to live our creative life, and this is what we've chosen, and this is what your pledge does, is it allows us to do that, to make games and books and toys and other things that are coming down the pipeline. Yeah, I mean, it's not the easiest road to take in a career. I'll just be straight with you. It's very challenging, and it takes a tremendous amount of multidisciplinary expertise. We have to be experts in graphic design and storytelling and manufacturing and shipping and logistics and tax, and there's a lot of pieces to it. And the support that we get from the community is significant, and not just significant. I mean, you hear these messages from nonprofits and stuff like that, but even for-profit companies right now, we can't do it without people in our community, and I'm just personally very grateful for the opportunity that I get to do this for a living. There are other things that I probably could do and would probably not like my life as much. So it means a lot to us. And here's what I'm going to say. Our pledge is to you, part of our community and our customer base and our friends and our colleagues, is we listen to you. We listen to criticism, and we listen to praise, and we take those things to heart and use a lot of intentionality behind how can we better serve people? How can we make experiences better for people? How can we bring people together? How can we get people to share ideas and lower barriers and be smarter and stronger? And that's the place where this stuff comes from. This is not the easiest way in the world to make money. There are much better ways to do that. We would like to do that too, but I feel so grateful and fortunate to be with the team that I have, and to have people from all around the world, just kind of, whether they're new or whether they've been with us for a while. There is a tremendous togetherness that I think the Orange Nebula community has, that's very rare and is not common, and it's just hard for me to articulate what that means to all of us.
In the comments, everybody's articulating it pretty well. I mean, everybody is so happy to be here and be a part of this with us. Over and over and over again here. Honored to be a part of the campaign, past, present, future. I mean, that's so touching and beautiful. It makes me tear up a little. I know that I'm a little hormonal, and that's my excuse. I don't know your guys' excuse.
We're all hormonal.
Okay.
I'm always one step removed from tearing up, so that's
the sleep deprivation.
Okay, Teresa, I know you had a 6 o'clock or so whenever you feel like you need to hop off, just let us know. There's a few more things going through here, so I'm going to keep putting up a couple more questions, if that's okay with you, Mark and Tom.
Yeah, do it.
Do it.
Toodles, y'all. Y'all are awesome.
See you later. Okay, so I think this is a good one, especially right now. So how nervous or excited are you about Unsettled landing fairly soon for backers? Vindication was received so well. If Unsettled is received well, how are we going to do supporting 2 games simultaneously? Are we just going to drink more coffee?
Yes, all of that.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually.
And this is a question we've asked ourselves. I'll just say Tom and I specifically have talked about, how do you follow up on something that has been fairly well received, like Vindication has. And the answer that we had, and catch this if you can, we are not making products to please other people. We are using our gifts, our talents, and our abilities to do things that feel right for us, and then we share them with everyone. And we want the community to participate in that, but we are not taking the mindset like the customer is always right, and I hope they like it, and if they don't like it, let's change it. That's never going to be our mindset. Our mindset is going to be, we are going to give every ounce of blood, sweat, and tears to make the best possible thing we can, even if some people don't like it, because we know that some people will. And not everybody's going to connect to everything. There are going to be people who love Vindication who maybe don't like Unsettled, and vice versa. Some people are going to love Unsettled who don't play Vindication, and that's okay. Like, I don't like tomatoes, and Lacey and Tom do. And that doesn't mean tomatoes are bad. That just means I think they're bad. I don't know if that answers the question, other than we leave it all on the field, so to speak, and it's going to be received however it's received. But at the end of the day, if we did everything in our power, which is how we play, that's how we roll, we're going to live with it. We're going to live with it. It's going to be awesome. And we feel awesome about Unsettled, actually. We feel really confident about that. So
yeah,
it goes well.
Yeah, I think it will be well received. To address kind of the more logistical side of the question, I think that's a great question. And that's something that Mark and I have been talking about, where like if Unsettled does really well and we do a second Kickstarter for that, and then if the third game does fairly well, at a certain point, we're not going to be able to be quite so cute and little anymore. We will have to scale. We have zero designs on being huge. That is not even remotely something that we want. That said, we are very cognizant of the fact that to continue to do what we're trying to do and serve the community and lead the community, there's a degree to which we're going to have to, double in size probably to continue to take care of everybody.
Yeah.
I want to pull this up here. And can we just give an amazing shout out to Krista right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Krista, she just did a nice little hooray for right at 6 o'clock as we were closing. So, Tom, can you just kind of intro for people who have not necessarily been following some of the details, just everything Krista's been able to add to this campaign and to the projects overall?
Mm-hmm. So on these campaigns, we like to do our community quests where everyone is picking from sketches and having story ideas that lead to sketches and things like that. And Krista has been the poor artist on the other end of that this time, who, we told her going into the campaign, like, this is going to be nuts and it's going to be really unstructured and you're going to get random harried emails from me at 2 a.m. like, oh my gosh, I forgot this needs final art, or we need 3 sketches of monsters. And Krista committed to jumping off that bridge with us and has done an unbelievable job. And she has produced so many sketches, some of which we didn't even use because I changed my plans, and has turned around stunning pieces of final art in absolutely record time, has had a fantastic attitude the entire time. If you haven't watched our previous live streams where we've gone off about Krista is very, very special in the way that she approaches her work. If you watch previous live streams, it's about to get redundant, but it's worth it. Krista is, of all the artists we've ever worked with, by far the most mindful and most committed to digging into, at least that we've seen, that is shown to us, the inspiration for the work. So we will have Krista come into the office and she'll show us her sketchbooks, and they're unbelievable. We'll have asked Krista to do a sketch of a monster, and she'll go and do case studies in the forest, and then she'll go to the Natural History Museum and do all these sketches of different invertebrates, and then she'll show how she combined them. And here's 14 different monster sketches that she tried until eventually she found this one that she's really happy with. And then she did that 3 or 4 times, and then you guys vote on them, and only one of them continues. And so she puts in unconscionable amounts of work and effort into things that she knows some of it, a large majority of it, won't even be used. But that's just who she is. And if that's not the Orange Nebula community, I don't know what is. Like, Krista is the embodiment of so much of what we believe and are aspire to be in this community, and she deserves to be a household name for sure.
She's also just delightful and curious and humble and malleable and flexible, and an incredible part of our team. And I'm very grateful. And I'll just also another shout out to Matt Olson, who's done a tremendous amount of body of work for us. Matt, I mean, we have a lot of artists that we work with, but Krista's here, and she's local and kind of part of our team, and we adore Krista. But Matt Olson also has just been a juggernaut, just working an insane amount for us. So thanks to Matt and Krista for sure. In addition to all the other.
Just to double down on that, Matt is one of the most reliable people I have ever worked with in any industry, because you can go to Matt just completely out of the blue with your hair on fire and say, here's what I need, and I need it right now, and I know this is super unreasonable, but sorry. And he says, okay, it's done. You know, like, Matt is just professional as all get out and has a great attitude, and we're very, very lucky to have him in our circle for sure.
We have a couple of people talking about just how much they missed seeing us at Gen Con this year and being able to hang out in that capacity. And we missed that so much. It's such a fun time for us because we never get to see anybody in person. So having that opportunity taken from us this year has been really sad. But Nicholas said he had to get some cake, and not enough people talked about cake today, because I worked really hard to eat like 5 different types of cake during this live stream, and like halfway through I'm like, I couldn't take another bite. So but I held the cake torch this time.
Thank you for taking that for the team. Yeah.
Somebody else mentioned quite a while ago, they were wondering if we're going to do any sort of socially distanced local pickup perhaps for this.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a big old maybe right now.
Yeah, if you cure COVID, we will do that. No, I'm joking. We're going to try to make that happen. That the restrictions in our region are pretty tight right now, and we want to do the responsible thing. So we're going to try to make everything as accessible as we can. And we know people want to save money on shipping, and if they can do local, we're going to try to make that happen. But I can't guarantee it at this point, or Tom would kill me.
Okay, we did answer this once before, and Brett, I see, helped us out in the comments, but Brian is wondering, so maybe we can give him just some quick info. How do you feel about comparisons being made between Unsettled and ISS Vanguard?
What I feel about that is it means that we need more space games that don't involve people shooting each other. That's all that means. I think that Unsettled and Vanguard are radically different games.
Not even close.
Yeah, they just happen to be colorful space games that focus on exploration and science and wonder. And the fact that they're so frequently compared just means we need more of that in the world. But as far as mechanisms and the experience of playing it, they're not even in the same ballpark whatsoever.
Yeah, they're both
Vanguard. We're backing Vanguard. I think I'm very glad to see other companies exploring that type of concept.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. John Robert has a question here. Okay, I'm going to read it out. Been a huge fan of Vindication Orange Nebula since running into Mark at a fold-out table at Gen Con a few years back. I remember that fold-out table. Speaking of ideas and sacred rule, have y'all looked at cyberpunk settings for the various morality issues and thoughts of class hierarchy? This goes over my head a little bit.
Mine too.
Tom, what do you know about cyberpunk settings?
Oh, I mean, I think historically that genre, if we can call it that, is a really good platform for morality discussions, which isn't exactly, that is pretty on brand for Orange Nebula, just deeper conversations. I think I want to be careful here. You will be seeing something that has that sort of vibe from Orange Nebula. It isn't a deep morality dive, though.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I feel like we're coming close to the end here, fam. The only other question I saw in here that I don't think we've answered is why is Derek not on screen?
Derek's got his hands full with a couple other things right now. He's been hammering on some other projects, but and we want to just kind of be cognizant of his schedule and his time, so he wasn't able to jump into this one, but he's very much part of our team, and he's just cranking away and is probably watching from a distant corner. I don't know if he's
well, they miss him because he's the cutest, you know.
He
also,
is. He
if
is
you
the
haven't met
cutest of all of us,
this
except
is
for Tug.
I know. Hi, honey. How you doing? Okay, Jordan just gave just a tiny bit more detail, but it sounds like you hit pretty well on it, just with the idea that he's talking more future dystopia, magnifying some of the contemporary issues that may be happening. So I think you answered that pretty well. So
Let me speak briefly to what I think maybe the heart of this is. We want to inspire people to think bigger and unlock their creativity and bring about community. We're probably not ever going to go into a deep dive on moral, social, political stances and those types of things. I think it starts to polarize our audience instead of uniting our audience. So what we're going to do is we're going to do things that create common ground and invite people. Vindication is about unlocking your own heroism and not being held back by your past and kind of moving forward. And so we touch lightly on concepts like that, but how those are interpreted is up to the viewer. I mean, art is what you bring to it. It's your lens, it's your game, it's your story. And that will always be true of whatever we make. It's the same for any movies that you enjoy, any books that you read. It goes through your lens, and we just want to invite you to have that experience and call it your own. And so we're probably going to play neutral on those types of issues. It is interesting, though. I mean, we may toy around the edges of that.
All right, so if there are any other questions, you're welcome to drop them in right now before we get done. Boys, how tired are you as we're coming to a close of this campaign?
As we're coming to a close of 2020? Yeah.
That too.
It's a crazy year. I'll speak quickly to that. I think our team is tired. Like we've accomplished quite a bit. I think 2020 has come with a unique set of challenges. I think most people are kind of ready to put that in the past. I will say that I think it's also good to be mindful of what we've learned in 2020 and some of the things that the hardships that 2020 has brought have reminded us what we're made of. And in terms of community and in terms of looking beyond ourselves and not just being self-focused and not being, caught with like being a little bit more outward focused, I think is something that we could all spend a little bit more time doing and reflecting on how we can be healthier. So yeah, as we look forward, that's kind of what I'm grateful for. I do think we're exhausted. I'm a little bit exhausted, but that comes with what work is. That's what you do. You work hard, you get tired, you rest up, and then you hit it again. And that's what we're going to do.
How about you, Tom? How you doing?
Yeah, I echo everything the Mark has said. I have basically a personal aversion to ever really talking about how hard I work or how tired I am, even though I know I do work hard and have in all my different walks. But basically, no matter how hard you work, there's always someone who works harder than you. And if you're talking to that person, you sound like an idiot. And quite frankly, I want to be respectful of the fact that there are a lot of people out there working a heck of a lot harder than I am, no matter how hard I'm working. And it has been a long and tough year. And I mean, this campaign basically just feels like more of the same from this year from a work perspective. Like, it has been long, long days and not enough sleep for this team all year long. And that's kind of what it took to keep the lights on in a year when everything was falling apart. And I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think we get to choose what that means in our own story. And I choose to not have it mean that I'm exhausted or I'm, forlorn about the state of things. Like, I feel good about what we've done and what we've all come through together, and I feel good about the future. So I would like to sleep.
Yeah.
My family deserves way more time with me than they got this year, so I want to make some changes that respects that. And I want more time with them, so we're going to make that happen. But it's, we're all very, very well taken care of here. So
there's nothing heroic about the hustle, about this hustle mentality, about working really hard. That doesn't make you awesome. I think I will say this. I heard a quote recently, and I'm going to paraphrase it here, but you will experience pain in life. It can either be the pain of discipline or it will be the pain of regret. And the choice is yours. And I think on our side, you'll find that we choose discipline, and it comes with a cost, and it's worth it. So we do work hard, but that doesn't really mean anything. I think what we do speaks louder than what we say. So, and you don't need words for that. Just do it. Those are my words.
All right. Well, let's get ready to close it up then. We are so grateful for the time that you've spent throughout the campaign and all the comment sections and on these live streams. And we are excited to see you more in our community pages, on our Facebook groups. We've had lots of people talking about a Discord channel, so maybe that's something we'll talk about too, as a way to stay connected. But you can always find us in those groups, and we'll be in there. If you enjoyed what you had with the campaign and you want to stay connected with us at a deeper level, that's a great way to do it. We'll also have a couple. My dog, you hear
yeah.
God. We have a couple of podcasts in the queue that should be coming out too. So if you enjoy listening to Mark and Tom ramble as they have here, you can get a lot more of that on the podcast too.
And some Teresa and Lacey in there too. Yeah, and Derek.
But none of Tug. So.
They don't ramble like you and I do, though. They say things that matter and then they stop.
It's true. That's true. If you like rambling.
Yeah.
Hey, whoever you are, thank you. If you're watching this live or if you're watching this later, thank you. If you're not commenting and you're just watching and you're just at home curious, thank you. You're welcome here. Our community is open and you have a voice, and we appreciate you.
All right. Thanks all. We will talk to you soon. See you wherever we see you.
We will.